Couple of things. I want to ask Jack and Dan to read some passages for us before we get started. So if I forget, be sure to mention it to me as we get started into the chapter 6 first. Couple of things, a couple of books I came across that look good, for the right circumstances. This one is called Mama Bear Apologetics. Mama Bear Apologetics. Now, if you're not familiar with the word apologetics, okay, I've been throwing it around a lot in the class. This is the passage, 1 Peter 3:15. But sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts always, being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, yet with gentleness and reverence. That's the New American Standard. That's a very literal translation, which is good in this case because it uses the word defense right there, and that's the word apologion. The Greek word apologion, that's the Greek letters, that's the English transliteration right there. But we get the word, guess what word we get from that? Apologetics, okay? And from that, an apology is not saying you're sorry you did something, okay? That is, in this case, it's not. In this case, it means a defense of something, okay? It's a defense of our faith in this case. All right, and so that's what it says. But so this is scriptural. What we're doing is scriptural here. Okay, so this is 1 Peter 3:15. Make you be ready always to give a defense. Okay, so we need to be able to do that. Bumper sticker theology is not going to cut it anymore. We're going to have to go deeper than that. Okay. I saw a bumper sticker the other day, and I understand the sentiment behind it. And as Christians, we understand it and probably hopefully agree with this. It said, God said it, and that settles it, or something like that. I forget. There was 3 statements. I forget. You've seen it before. But here's the thing. That's not a defense of the faith. Because when you say that to someone who doesn't have a Christian background, it sounds dogmatic. It doesn't sound very complimentary in their ears. So we need to go further than that, and we need to understand. Well, why is it that I believe this? Why do I believe this? And there are reasons, and we need to go from. Now, this is not an apologetics class, but this is a class to help us understand the importance of doing it. That's why I show a bunch of books like this. Now, Mama Bear Apologetics is about, and I have not read the whole thing, but I've read enough of it to see that it looks like it's very good. What do you think from the title? What do you think it sounds like? Mama Bear Apologetics. What do you think that? When you think of Mama Bear, what do you think of?
Protecting
3 bears.
Oh yeah, you go in the woods and you see a baby cub wandering around. You automatically want to walk up to it and give it a big hug. Oh, how cute, No, why? Because who's around probably just behind it somewhere? The mama bear. And the mama bear is probably not going to take too kindly to you coming up to the cub. Okay? So that's the whole idea. It has to do with protecting our children. And it's not just for mothers. It's for fathers as well.
Well, to me, Troy, it brings up the old adage, the hand that rocks the cradle.
But yeah, and I think that was in here. I read that recently, as a matter of fact. I think that quote is in here. It is so important, and it is an effort to help mothers see the danger of sending their children out unprepared, who are Christian mothers, sending their children out unprepared into this world. And it boils down to just unexcusable negligence. It really is. It's unexcusable negligence at this point. Now, in past apologetics, that was something Thomas Aquinas did back in the 13th century. You didn't have to mess with that because our Western culture supported our Christianity. It did to a degree, to a large degree. It supported our faith, and it was. You would go to state schools and there wouldn't be co-ed dorms. There was men over here and the women were over there, and that kind of stuff. Well, that's all changed now. You can't depend on that anymore. And many other things as well. You know as well as I do. But and this, from what I've looked into it, this is not light. This is not apologetics light. This gets into the deep stuff right here, and it's good. And it talks about, anyway, I haven't read the whole book, so I'm not going to just reservedly tout it for you. But anyway, stuff like this. Now, here's another one. Now, I have not read any of this. Nancy has started reading it for me to kind of make sure it's okay and all that. But I'm just going to bring it out. Any book you read that's not the Bible, you got to read it with a grain of salt. You got to understand, this is not gospel, but it could be helpful. Okay. And so we just need to understand that. But this one is called Talking with Teens About Sexuality. And then underneath it says critical conversations about social media, gender identity, same-sex attraction, pornography, purity, dating, etc. And from what we have read of it, it looks pretty good. This was reviewed in the Christian Chronicle. This one was. And let me tell you, some of y'all out there are thinking, well, I don't have to talk with my kids about, they don't need to know anything about that right now. You know what I'm going to say to that? They already do. They already do. But you see, the thing is, they know. Now, I may be talking to the choir here. You probably need to filter this down to your children and their children and so forth. But the point is that they know that you don't want to talk about this, so they keep it secret too. So you don't know that they know, but they do, and they may not know it the way that they should know it. That's the point, okay? Talking with teens about sexuality, okay? Can't ignore it anymore. Cannot ignore it. They're not going to learn it the right way from our culture. I promise you that. That's not going to happen. Okay. All right. That out of the way. Let's go ahead and take a look. How about Jack?
Yeah.
You want to read yours, please? Habakkuk?
Second chapter, verses 18 through 20, right?
Go ahead.
Of what value is an idol carved by a craftsman, or an image that teaches lies? The one who makes it trusts in his own creation. He makes idols that cannot speak. Woe to him who says to wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up.
Okay.
Give guidance. It is covered with gold and silver. There is no breath in it. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Dan.
Exodus 21 through 3. And God said all these words, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me.
Okay. And that's just a small sampling of when God talks about idols. And of course, when I first heard about idols, I thought, well, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. We live in civilized culture where we don't have totem poles in our closet, and that kind of thing. And of course, I was a little naive about that. An idol is anything that we put before God. And we need to understand that. And there are many, many idols in our culture today. And unfortunately, this can be one of them. Okay? This can be one of them. Now, you might say, well, you have one, Troy. Well, yes, I do. Now, here's the thing. It's like so many other gifts from God. They can all be used the wrong way. Good can be turned in. Matter of fact, C.S. Lewis says that evil is not an original thing. Evil is good perverted. That's what he said. If you can track down most evils to something that was originally good, it's just been perverted. And I think I did that. I took him to task on that, and I started tracing things down. And I thought, that's largely true. But now, we use technology. We're using technology right now. Hopefully in a good way. This is a good way, okay? But, if we take up all our time on these things to the neglect of the work of God and our relationship with God, then this becomes a what?
Idol.
It becomes an idol. And it can. And it's just, I love the title. Well, I don't love the title, but I think the title is very telling. It says being alone together. And it just reminds me of a group of kids all together, and none of them are talking to each other, at least face to face. They're all got their head buried in their phone doing this, And it just, so let me just open up with a question. I'm going to open up with a question this time. Have you ever wondered why? And I'm taking something for granted here, but I think you'll see that it's true. Ever wondered why some people will say things on social media that you never thought you'd hear them say in person? Have you experienced that? Things that you come across on Facebook or something like that? I'm like, who said that? So-and-so said, what? They said that? And it was one of your relatives, It was one of your friends, might have been someone from church, like what? And I sometimes Mike Johnson up on the pulpit will warn us about that. Be careful what you say on social media. People know who you are. You're a Christian. You represent Christ. Be careful what it is. So why is it that things end up being said on social media? Let me tell you something. There was an employee a few years ago at our school, and I won't say who it was, whether it was a teacher or not, but it was an employee at our school that started talking on social media, went off the rail, and ended up losing her job. And because somehow we'll get to that in a minute. But why is it people will say stuff on social media that you never dream of them saying face to face? Why is that?
Sometimes we might not know the real them, and who they really are is who they show themselves to be.
But why does it come out on this? Why does it come out on where's my
Social
phone?
media?
Yeah, why does it come out on social media?
Anonymity.
Other people are listening.
What'd you say?
I said too ignorant to know that a lot of people are watching. And
Maybe so, but it's this concept of what?
Anonymity.
Yeah, they think they're anonymous somehow. They think they're not, but but it's this thing that, the real person comes out. It's like you think you're anonymous. They say that character, the reputation is what you are around everybody else, but character is what you are when nobody's looking.
Right.
Go ahead, Betty.
I agree with Dan.
Yeah. Anonymity, people think, they think that they think no one knows who's saying it, so they can just put it on there. Go ahead, brother.
I heard a lesson years ago, and it still applies every day, and that is we all, at some level or other, tend to wear a mask. There are times when you have to be pleasant when it's not pleasant. There are times when you have to be polite when it's not easy to be polite. A lot of people just wear those masks, and they think, okay, you don't know who I am. I'm still hiding back here, but let me tell you what I really think. And that's what shows up, kind of slips out.
Now, either Stone Street or Kunkel, I don't know who wrote this part of it. Oh, thank you, brother. That's right. It's, I don't know who I am. They have this idea, and I think there's some truth to this, that people like to create some kind of alternate reality or alternate identity for themselves. They like to have a sort of an avatar or something, but that's more than just an image. They like to have an alternate reality of themselves, and they act out that alternate reality. You might say, well, that sounds like they need a psychiatrist. Well, maybe some of them do, but I mean, it happens. Technology has pros and cons, so we're going to go through some of these. We looked at some of the pros. Obviously, greater communication with people, that can be a good thing. I have a Bible study twice a week with someone who's thinking about being baptized. Is getting there, but I don't have it face to face. We're on Zoom and we see each other on the computer. We read the Bible over the computer. And that's how we're able to do it. He lives in town, but he's a family man, very busy, and so that's the way we were able to do it. And that's a good use of technology. There's other good uses of technology. We get, like I said, we get to have the class virtually, someone who couldn't be here in person can watch it online. I've been there myself. Wednesday night, I was there. It was so I was online. But there are cons to technology. There are disadvantages or things to watch out for. Okay. There are three specific ones that our authors have mentioned. One is we can lose touch with our world. He mentioned that he was in Alaska on a cruise, and the whales came up. They were looking for the whales. Y'all have been there, right? Seen the whales in the cruise of Alaska. He said rather than enjoying the sight, everyone was so busy pulling out their cameras trying to get film of it that they really just couldn't enjoy it for the moment, because they wanted to send it. They wanted to, I don't know that it was so much preserve it as they wanted to send it to their friends and say, look where I am, look what I'm seeing. Look what, it's like, and that's, we lose touch with our world. We're always looking for photo ops, not enjoying the moment at the time. So we can lose touch with our world if we're not careful. Number two, we can lose touch with one another. You ever notice these days, and I have noticed, I'm a teacher, okay? I see this. Kids they struggle looking at you in the eye. When you talk to someone, I have to tell them, look at me when you're talking to me, please. Social cues, body language, they don't get it anymore because they're just so used to communicating on this, you don't get that. Divided attention. I really appreciate Sharon Tyson, my aunt. She passed away from cancer, from pancreatic cancer, but she said at her funeral, she gave a message to the preacher to give at the funeral. Everyone, please don't silence your phones. Just turn them off completely if you would. She said that, but it was just divided attention. Sometimes we should be somewhere and we're not because of that. All right, it challenges our willingness to be open and honest with others. And this was kind of, the Facebook thing. We try to posture, we try to spin, make our lives look better than they really are. Make our, look at my new car, look at my, it can happen. Now, you might say, well, my motivation is not that. Well, hopefully not. But it happens. And we just have to watch out for it. And it's the drawback of technology. Number three, we can lose touch with ourselves. We can lose touch with ourselves because we can only truly know ourselves in community. Really, we are not isolated individuals. We are social creatures. God made us that way. It's not something that's bad. God made us that way. We are social creatures. At the very beginning, what did God say about Adam? It is not good that man should be alone, And that wasn't just a sexual thing. That was in general. It's not good that man should be alone. Meaning we are social creatures. We need each other. And when you end up with people that are just, their whole world is on this screen in front of them, it gets bad. You might say there are people out there like that. Yes, there are. All right, so here are page 122, if you're following along, lies that our technology teaches us. Lies that our technology teaches us. Here it is. Number one, I am the center of my own universe. I am the center of my own universe. Everything is about me. Everything is about me. Now, we struggle with that anyway. It doesn't take technology to make us think that way. That's been around for a long time, okay? But it just pushes that along. But the overriding worldview today, or quote, religion, if you would, is that God comes into my world on my terms to make me happy. He comes into my world on my terms to make me happy. That's what, if there's a God at all, that's what God is for. And that's the overriding worldview or thought pattern regarding religion or God in this world. Technology enforces that thought. You know, it basically gives us gives us the power to do whatever we want, our choices and everything like that. And it can enforce that. And it can come out in church. Thoughts can come like that, can come out in church. When we say things like, here, get this. I just didn't get anything out of that service today. Well, is that what it was for? For you to get something out of it? Or were you supposed to give something to it? You see what I'm saying? It's just something as simple as that, you know. Number 2, lie that our technology teaches us. I deserve to be happy all the time. I deserve to be happy all the time. And, you know, that is, I think of, it's ironic because there are more choices and more, quote, ways to be happy in this world. And you know what the second leading cause of death in the age group like 15 to 25 is?
Suicide.
It's suicide, because people are not happy. You know, here's the problem with that is this. Technology teaches virtues of convenience, efficiency, and choice. What's missing is patience, prudence, and perseverance. They miss those things. Those godly virtues are gone. You know, the virtues are convenience and efficiency and choice. God wants us to be blessed, not happy. Okay? Happiness is like, pursuing happiness is kind of like nailing Jell-O to a wall. It really is. It's kind of like nailing Jell-O to a wall. Pursuing happiness. When you pursue happiness, okay, you don't really get it. But when you seek God, that's when happiness comes around. When you seek God, well, see, one of the things is when you seek God, what does that mean in your relationship to others? What does that mean? If you're seeking God first, what does that mean? Second greatest commandment?
Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor as yourself. You're seeking other people's happiness. You're seeking other people's blessing. When you do that, then you are what? You are blessed. That's when blessing comes to you. It's not when you're out seeking it for yourself. Okay? I try to communicate that to my kids at school and so forth, but that, you know, anyway, I do the best I can. We need to do that. We need to understand it for ourselves, first of all, and then we need to be able to teach that to others. That's why Jesus says it's more blessed to give than what? To receive. Okay? More blessed to give than to receive. Okay. So we need to understand these lies that technology teaches us. And it's not something that comes out and it's going to be on the front of a Facebook page, or it's going to be on the front of your Google. It's stuff that's under the surface. Okay. Number 3, I must have choices. I must have choices. You know, we are in a choice-driven society. You know, we all love to have our choices, you know, and I'll tell you, I'm no different. When COVID came around, you go to the restaurant, you still go restaurants that open back again, they gave you a new menu. What was interesting about the new menu?
Throw away.
Less choices.
That too.
Less choices were there, you know. It's like, what happened? My favorite meal is not on here anymore, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, the lie is choices are necessary prerequisites to my happiness. No. We need to watch those things. All right. Always looking for the next best thing. I must have choice. All right. Number 4, next lie. I am my own authority. I am my own authority. Okay. It's the illusion of the modern society. I am in control. It's the illusion of the modern society. I am in control. We're not in control. God's in control. And we need to understand that. And it's, once again, the overarching theology of the day, moralistic therapeutic deism. You know, God is there for me to satisfy my desires, and it comes into my world. Mistaken assumption that this is our world, not God's. All right. Number 5, this is the last one that I have listed here. Information is all I need, not teachers. I just need information. Well, there's several problems with that. Sure, we have more information at our fingertips than any other generation has ever had, probably, okay? And maybe the generation before. The internet came about, what, 95? Somewhere thereabouts, but it wasn't as, it didn't have as many websites on it as it does now. It didn't have nearly as much information as it does now, obviously. But the problem is, number one, the information you get on the internet, is it always accurate?
Oh,
Of course not. No, it's not always accurate. Okay, you got to verify that just like you verify other things. We got to do that. Number two is knowledge. Is information is really not the same as knowledge. And then is wisdom the same thing as knowledge?
No.
So does the internet automatically make you wiser? No, it doesn't make you wiser. Okay, wisdom, teachers cannot be replaced by the internet. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a teacher. Okay, it's just true, and we need to understand that. I teach geometry. And inevitably the kids will ask me every year, I'll get this, when are we actually going to use this stuff? When are we actually going to use this stuff? And I get that, and I tell them honestly, there will be times that you will have opportunity to use this. It won't be every day of your life. But here's what you get from this. You get the training in how to think critically, how to think logically. Proofs are one of the things people hate in geometry. If y'all ever took geometry, about proofs, that people usually hate proofs. It's hard to teach, actually. That's one of the most challenging things to teach, is how to do proofs in geometry. You have to think logically, and you have to think critically, and you have to use some imagination. And that's what I teach, is how to think. And so thinking is something that we do need. All right, practical hints and suggestions. Practical hints and suggestions. And I'm going to throw this out. By the way, before we go on to practical hints and suggestions, does anyone have any comments about what we've done so far? Anybody, does it resonate with anybody, or do you agree, disagree, or see any examples of any of the things that we've looked at?
I have a little comment.
Go ahead.
I think especially younger people, they want to be independent. They say they don't want anyone to tell them what to do, but I think they secretly just wish that they had boundaries and that someone would step up to the plate and really hold their feet to the fire. And, again, I think that they say that they want choice. They don't want anyone to tell them what to do, but I think they really do want it.
I agree. And the thing is, I think we all are that way. I read an experiment one time that was done on kindergarten children. They had a playground that was around some roads. There were cars going here and there, but they had the playground had a fence around it. And when the fence was there, they ignored what was around there. They just played like they, were playing. They were comfortable and secure, and they felt everything was all right. Now, I'm not sure how they did this safely. It didn't say exactly, or I don't remember. I'm sure they did it safely in some way, but they took the fence down and they watched what the kids did. And the kids felt insecure all of a sudden, and they all kind of huddled in the middle and just kind of looked around. It was a noticeable change. But yes, that is true. We do need boundaries. We're going to talk about some boundaries here in just a second. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Quick comment I heard a few years ago. I don't know if it's still true or not, but at that time they said, and this is just to say that technology is not all bad. They said the number one app that was being downloaded by people across the world was a Bible app.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
So people are still thirsty for the word.
Yes.
Still thirsty for knowledge, and they're not just out watching YouTube all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's good. No, technology is being used to further the kingdom of God. Okay, I want to mention, and thank you for mentioning that. It's not all bad. It can be if we let it. And this is actually in conjunction with the next chapter that we're going to get to. Next chapter has to do with how kids are not growing up. they're not leaving the house. They're staying with mom and dad until they're in their mid-20s or close to even later sometimes. It's called failure to launch or various other things, you know. But kids are not wanting to leave home. They're staying home and they're not growing up. And a lot of these things that we're looking at kind of affect that. But have any of y'all heard anything like that?
Yeah, and they want to stay home, but on their own terms.
Yeah.
Recognizing that you're under the parents' roofs and therefore you should still be under the parents' rules.
Sound like you speak from experience.
One of the problems with them and with that situation is they want to stay home, correct? But they're not mobile as a rule. So they're stuck. And Marina and I are fighting that little battle
Yeah.
right now. Mother is working hard, father works. They're not married, of course. And so she's sitting in this house, stuck. And consequently, she's created her own world. And with only Marina and I, who live 35 miles away, to be able to help with that. And so she's, and she hasn't even shown signs of really reaching out on her own. We're just hopeful we can get through to her.
Yeah. We're going to get to more of this next week. That's actually the topic for next week. But in any event, let's look at some practical hints about technology. Okay. Number one, have a periodic device fast. Periodic device fast. Maybe Sunday afternoons might have something, and it would be a good idea to have something to replace it. In other words, put something. Now, we're talking about families here, usually with children, okay? But maybe it would help us. I talked with Greg Anthony the other day. His kids have been out of the house for a long time. He said he went on a device fast the other day. And I don't know whether it was a whole, whether it was like, I think it was several days. He went on just to see how he could do, and then I think he just.
Talking about kids, when our kids were little, our rule was no phones at the table when we ate dinner together.
That's down here, yep.
Good. And, I think that's the one opportunity that you have with kids that you can try to instill that now, who knows what they do.
Now I have to say, no phones at the table.
Kids get their habits from where?
The parents.
From the parents.
Yeah.
The kids get their habits from the parents. So we can't just throw it out and say, oh, our culture has done that to my child. No, we have responsibilities and they see, they see and they do. So that's how that works. All right, device-free zones. Need to have some device-free zones. The second one is the dinner table. Okay, that's a good suggestion. We need to bring back the family dinner. First of all, we need to bring back the family dinner. Families need to bring back the family dinner. That's important time to communicate with the children. Okay, that needs to come back, family dinner. Now, you can make substitutions here, okay? If you just are married, just have a wife or a husband, you need some time together. You still need some time together, okay? Maybe you need to have some device-free time together. And if the little noise rings to show that, oh, I got a text, you don't have to run to it right away and feel like you have to look at it immediately. You can let that sit for a while you talk. Or if the phone rings, you're not obligated to pick it up, okay? So anyway, all right, bedrooms. Now, let me say this regarding children, and they say this right in the book, and there's a whole chapter on this coming up pretty soon. It is madness to allow unfettered, unfiltered access to the internet in the privacy of the kids' bedrooms. That is just asking for trouble, and it's negligence is what it is. It says internet pornography is waiting for them there. It's right there. And other things, other bad things as well. But it is madness to leave them unfettered access to the internet without any supervision. There's more to come on that, but vacations, or at least most of them, one of the best times for relationship building as a family is a family vacation. Good interaction, games, family activities, etc. But be a good time to have a fast for the device-free zone. Almost anything better than everyone just, I'm sorry, almost anything's better to do together than just stuck with your nose in the screen, you know? This right here just doesn't enhance your relationships. It doesn't improve. Most of the ideas that they come up with on how to prepare your children for the culture that we're going into has to do with your relationship with them. And if that relationship isn't there, you don't spend time developing that relationship, then it's going to be tough to do. It's going to be hard.
Troy,
Yes.
I don't know if anybody has seen on Netflix, it's called The Social Dilemma. Have any of you seen it? If you have Netflix, you really should watch it. It is very, very eye-opening to what
Share, please.
technology does and can do, and how every tap of every site that you go to, you're tracked and monitored. Anyway, it really does make you step back and go, whoa, I need to put my phone down.
Yeah, it's kind of uncharted territory, really. And they had some former employees from Google and other places revealing what they're doing with all of your information out there. And it's kind of sinister, you know, in many ways. I mean, they're trying to manipulate people in the most extreme cases, not all the time, obviously, but mostly you just get the ads, you know. As soon as you look on a website, all of a sudden you're flooded with ads for a certain product. I needed to buy a bolt for my car. I got a dozen ads for a bolt. I'm like, who does that, you know? But that's just an example of what they're doing. They're taking that info and immediately utilizing it. And governments have always manipulated people. You know, it's just now they have a very powerful tool at their disposal to manipulate society in general. And like I said, it's kind of
Well, and what's interesting is the person that told us about it is a young person she's like a daughter to us in Texas. And she watched it and said, you guys really need to watch this. And she said it really made me rethink like how much I'm on Instagram and what I'm doing and, you know, all that. And I mean, she's in her early 20s and you know, so like I said, again, it's called The Social Dilemma and it's on Netflix.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, another thing to watch out for regarding technology. All right, we're close to the end. There's a couple of quotes I'm going to read. It's toward the end of the chapter, and I thought it was noteworthy. That's the first bell. So, all right, remember to use these device-free times wisely. Develop a list of questions for your kids that will help you dive into their beliefs, hopes, dreams, disappointments, and aspirations. Bring up a hot topic from the news that day or tell a story from your childhood. It doesn't have to be a serious discussion. Laugh together, think together, imagine together, demand eye contact, and dig deeper than yes, no, and I don't know discussion. You know, I hate it when I get a paper back with a number 5. D, what do they put?
IDK.
Yeah, you know, IDK. I'm like, wrong answer. Anyway, all right, that stands for I don't know, by the way. All right, initially it will be hard for both our kids and us, but it will be worth it. It will be worth it, all right? All right, now here, a couple other things. In my family and Brett's, screens are to be used only in public areas. Isolation equals temptation. There is simply no substitute for deliberately taking the time to know our kids on a personal level and opening up ourselves for them to know us. Only in the context of a true relationship can we demonstrate to them who they are beyond their gadgets, profiles, and online posturing. They need to hear that from us. And last paragraph. This requires us to be appropriately vulnerable with our kids. We need to be willing to share the hard memories as well as the good ones, and our struggles and failures along with our successes and wins. That way they'll see that our identities are secure outside of our social media projections and that we too are real people who long to belong and be known. Okay? That is on page 128 of your book. So, all right, that's the end. Thank you for your participation today. Next week, the class I will be on the screen. because I will be doing this class from Panama City Beach. So I'm going on vacation. So we're going to make good use of the technology and you'll be able to watch it on the screen. So, anyway. Yes, brother.
Can you repeat the names of the titles of the book? Somebody had asked on
Which one? Oh, this right here?
the two books that you recommended.
Mama Bear Apologetics, Hillary Morgan Ferrer, Ferrer. Ferrer is Mama Bear Apologetics. And there are two, well, actually, yeah, there are two authors to Talking with Teens About Sexuality, Beth Robinson and Latane C. Scott, PhD. Okay, Beth Robinson and Latane, Latayne C. Scott. Okay, all right. Thank you for your participation today. I look forward to seeing you. I'll be on the screen next week. So,
How you doing?
hey, Nick.
Have dinner
How
with
you doing?
No,
Hey, Tom.
the parents came into town. So we're gonna have to do it when we get back.
Tom, how are you?
You got them coming up too.
Yeah.
Good, how's it going?
Thank you.
Everywhere we went. Enjoy your.
How you doing?
Later.
Yeah.
Nick, how's your back?
I ended up in the ER Friday.
Reads every day.
Well, somebody that's had 4 back surgeries, I can appreciate what you're going through.
That's what the doctor said. He said, "Hey, you're probably got another surgery coming."
So I started to.
Hey, they gave me a great shot though.
I thought you'd be there when we did it.
Sometime we'll have to talk on the phone now,
Daughter.
find out more about what's going on.
Yeah, since passing.
Okay, I'll be following you.
See y'all later.
Yes, yes, in some aspects, but yes, me, the concepts that you're dealing with.
Hang on, I'll be right with you.
Yeah, they apply.
Does she have kids?
No, they tried and she, whether I'll have that or not, but it's hard. Fine with that.
You go to Kentucky?
We did.
Yep. Thank you.